it's time for Cigar Talk, the fastest growing cigar show in the nation. Whether you're a new cigar enthusiast or a cigar aficionado, we have something for everyone, bringing you the best interviews, cigar reviews. So grab yourself a cigar.
It's time to light them up.
Welcome back, Cigar Talk. I'm your host, Rob Jones, and we have a special guest with us today, Jawanza from, now, I'm just going to say Atlanta.
And
did I pronounce your name correctly?
You did. Perfect.
All right.
Jawanza
Wow.
Lamar, yeah.
And everybody in Texas knows that's an accomplishment for me. Like, I mispronounce everything. In fact, my co-host says because I grew up in Lubbock, I speak fluent Lubbockian. That's because he's a dick. But anyway, thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely.
So me and Jawanza are here at Cutter's Cigar Lounge in
Alpharetta, Georgia.
Thank you.
There you go.
And let me tell you what, guys, if you're anywhere near Georgia, you should come by this place. This
Nice
place
spot.
is nice. It's got the indoor, it's got the humidor, it's got the patio, it's got TVs. They have amazing coffee.
Of course.
Which you said you think is Pete's Pike.
It's Pikes Peak.
Pikes Peak.
Pikes Peak.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Pikes Peak is the coffee, I think.
And you guys know how much of a coffee guy I am. If I'm not drinking bourbon, I'm drinking coffee. And so when I say their coffee's good, it was like, wow.
Nice.
They knocked it out. Now, when they brought the coffee out, do they put cream in it?
Ahead of time.
Okay.
Right? So before. Yeah.
I normally only drink it black.
They'll put a little bit of foam on top. I actually got a cappuccino, and it paired really well with the LFD is what I had.
Chapter 2.
Yes, Chapter 2.
Yeah, I came into the humidor, guys, when I got here. I'm always looking for things, and I was looking for an LFD Chapter 2, and the box was empty. I come out, I sit down, I'm visiting with some new friends. I look over, and I'm like, dude, smoking a Chapter 2. And I don't smoke a lot of LFD,
Yes.
so I was like, a Chapter 2 is really my only LFD smoke. Like,
Really?
that's the cigar from LFD I like.
Okay.
It's a very unique cigar to all their other blends. Like, it doesn't compare to any other of their cigars.
Okay.
That red pepper cayenne
Yes.
blend you get, like, I've never had another cigar that has that.
I've never had it described the way that you did, and absolutely, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, I do taste that, right?
Well, I didn't know that when I smoked it until a friend told me. Old man Bill, who used to own a cigar shop, I had him on the show last week, and he's the one that was like, are you getting that red pepper? And I was like, now that
Yes.
you mention it, I am.
Yeah.
I didn't know because I'd never had a cigar that had that.
Helps you appreciate it, right?
Yeah,
when you know what it is.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your cigar experience. Well, let's
So I'm a
jump
neophyte.
back.
I'm a neophyte, right? So 2 years in, max, right? Started with kind of hanging out with a buddy of mine, Kari, and we started smoking cigars together, and he kind of introduced me to it, and at the same time pairing it with bourbon. And so we would have bourbon evenings out on the porch, right? Because I think that's what really makes cigar smoking as well as bourbon tasting, right?
Absolutely.
It's all about the camaraderie, sitting around with friends. Like you don't gulp bourbon, right? Nor do you like really take a big drag off a cigar. You enjoy it.
It's
Right.
all about the experience.
Absolutely.
And if you're like puffing like a freight train, you're not enjoying your
Exactly.
surroundings.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that I love about the cigars that I really love is if I don't have to think about the cigar and it's a
Right.
good experience, that's a
Right.
good cigar.
That's a good cigar. Yeah.
Like if I'm enjoying the conversation
Yeah.
over the cigar is perfect.
I actually thought that for the longest I was just puffing on a cigar, not enjoying it, and only recently was I having a cigar, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, you know what? I'm not enjoying this. And a friend of mine looked at me and said, you know, some cigars you get bored halfway through, and I'm like, that's exactly what's going on. I realized that I was enjoying all these cigars, and then I found one that I wasn't. Halfway through, I said, you know what? I'm done with this because it's boring, right?
Thank you. I'm not going to finish something that I'm not enjoying.
Right. Yeah.
I'm the same way. And for me, and I don't know how you are, but like if I cut a cigar and the cigar's plugged and I can't get a good draw, I don't mess with it. I throw it away and I light a new one because I don't want to spend the next hour pissed off.
Working.
Yes, if I have to work, and back in the day when I was a much newer, I'd be like squeezing it, trying to find that hard spot and open it up. And it was like, sometimes that was successful, but by doing that, it took away from the overall experience because I'm just messing with the cigar.
Right. Not enjoying it. Yeah.
So before we started the show, we went to the humidor and I picked up a gift cigar for my new cigar brother.
Very much appreciated.
Yes, and it is the 1964 Reserve, and it is in the Hermoso. You guys know I love the Hermoso. It's just, if you were to smoke that cigar in like a 6-inch or bigger, it might be a little much.
Right.
But in that shorter cigar, it burns so much slower. And that's one of the things that Padron is known for because what causes a cigar to burn slower is the oils in the leaf.
I didn't know that.
It slows down the burn. If you smoke a cigar that just like lightning burns, there's not a lot of oil in those leaves.
Makes sense.
And so, I just learned that a few months ago. So, with cigars, you're always learning.
Always learning. Oh, absolutely.
And so, anyway, even in that shorter cigar, you think that's only going to be a 30-minute stick. No.
I will tell you, I started this one probably 15 minutes ago. The draw is excellent. And it has almost an aftertaste. It's almost like and it's a really good aftertaste. There's a nice draw. You pull, and then all of a sudden, you hit with some, I wouldn't say florals, but it's just a nice kick that says you're smoking a cigar.
It's a smooth, almost semi-sweet at first.
Yes.
But then for me, I have it transition into something that I would describe as like maybe a cedar.
Okay.
Maybe a little like wood something.
Let me test your description here.
Well, like I said, I do not have the most discerning palate. You know what? My cigar reviews are this: up or down. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, then that doesn't mean it's a bad cigar. It means that it's not a cigar that I like.
Right.
Because there's a million cigars out there that I probably don't like, but that they're out there because somebody likes them.
Well, I've come to realize that it's not just, burning tobacco here. It's I finally have realized that every cigar has its own characteristics. You either like them or you don't. Not everybody. There are some people that love a certain cigar, and I'm like, I can't stand it. I've come to realize I do not like flavored cigars.
Good for you.
I do not like flavored cigars. And there have been a couple that had cool wrappings and things like that. And I'm like, you know what? That's cool.
They're masterfully
Marketed, yes. That's cool, but you know what? I don't enjoy this.
And you know what?
And I'm not going to push through.
There's 100 guys sitting next to you that love that cigar.
Absolutely.
And that's okay.
I
used to see guys checking out at the register and they'd be buying flavored cigars.
Yeah.
And one time I was sitting back at the lounge and there was this beast of a man come in the shop. And I mean, he's like 6'4", 6'6", probably weighed 280, but he was like massive muscle. Like, you're not going to mess with that guy.
Big guy, yeah.
And he comes back from the humidor and he's at the register and he's got like 4 cigars and all 4 of them are like the Blondie, the Deep Dish. They're all flavored. And I said to him, oh, I see you're buying cigars for your wife? And he was like, what? And I was like, well, I mean, I figured that you were buying those for your wife. Those are pretty girly.
Yeah, really girly, yeah.
And he was very open and friendly about it. And he was like, so what would you recommend? I took him back in the humidor. I picked him out some very, very light to medium cigars.
Right.
Because if someone is used to the flavored, you
absolutely.
don't want to jump them into something like that.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to enjoy that. That's the worst thing you can do is jump someone into something that is too strong for them.
Much.
Yeah, too much. And so next thing I know, me and that dude's hanging out smoking cigars,
What's cool is that you'll meet people and they'll ask you, what do you like? And based upon that, they're like, hey, try this. And I find that I always go to my go-to cigars, and I'll buy one or two, and then I'll branch out and try something new and different. I like it or I don't, right?
And after all the years, I'm still exactly like that.
Yeah.
When I go in to a humidor, and our humidor in my hometown is probably a little bit bigger than that.
Okay.
And it has, I mean,
And that's, by the way, that's huge.
it's a nice.
That's huge. Yeah.
And you know what? I love a nice and neat humidor.
Yes.
Like, have you ever been in one that's just kind of like,
A hodgepodge of.
yeah.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
I was at a lounge day before yesterday, and the owner, I was in the lounge with him, and he said, give me some critique.
Yeah.
Tell me what you would
Yeah.
change. Tell me what you don't like.
Yeah.
And I said, just because my home shop spoils me,
Right.
I can't stand to see boxes of disheveled cigars.
Oh, yeah.
I want
get
them
it.
stacked nice and neat, wrapper up.
Which hasn't been my experience, right? I'll go in, and what's really nice is that the guys that run the humidor here, they'll look and they'll go, hey, you usually get X, Y, and Z. I want you to try this, right? And they'll bring one out. I'm like, man, I really enjoy that. So they're really attentive to what my likes are, and they'll, I look for them to have some book or whatever, but they don't. They're like, hey, I know what you like. Try
Give
this
this a
out.
try.
Yeah, give this a try. And 90% of the time, they're on point.
And because they're on point, and I tell this to all the newer guys, which
Yeah.
you've smoked for 2 years.
Yep, about 2 years.
I still consider that to be a very new cigar
It is,
smoker.
absolutely. Don't take offense to that. At
Right.
all.
I mean,
to that
it's,
label.
it's not offensive.
Yeah.
It's you're in
I'm
an
learning.
early stage.
Early stage. Yep.
And so I tell people, when you go into a cigar shop, ask the tobacconist for help because they
yeah.
have knowledge. In fact, the tobacconist that's in there, what was his name?
That's Brandon that's in there right now. Yeah.
So I was talking to him.
The Javier, who's really good as well.
Well,
Yeah.
I said, what do you know about this and this? And the dude was on point.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, you're good. And he said, well, I've only been doing this for 2 years. And I was like, you're on point, bro.
I might be a little spoiled because that has been my experience here where I just walk in, I have no idea. I'm like, pick me out one, right? And they keep track of it. And there's only been two cigars.
They keep track of it
They
for
keep
you?
track. There have only been 2 cigars that they recommended that I'm like, and it was more of a try it, let me know what you think. And I'm like, yeah, I hate that, right? But there have only been 2 of them that I'm like, yeah, I don't like that at all.
When I started, I didn't write down cigars.
Yeah.
There are people that keep journals.
Oh, of course. I've almost bought one.
That's not
Right.
me.
I've almost bought
I mean,
one.
I don't have time to be writing cigars down all day.
Yeah, of course.
So,
of course.
but I always made note of what I didn't like.
I wonder if I've been spoiled by coming here.
Oh, you have.
I'll literally be
Dude,
like,
you
hey,
have. Oh.
just pick me out one. And like, okay.
Let me tell you something. Just from the environment, you have been spoiled.
Okay,
Like, this
fair
is
enough.
a top-notch cigar lounge.
Fair enough. Never had a bad experience, right? I've had a bad cigar, but not a bad experience at all.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay, yeah.
There's hundreds of cigars out there. So as you make your way through, I mean, I still smoke cigars I don't like because not on purpose, but I like to try new things.
Of course.
I like to try new bourbons.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, I was at a liquor store and I enjoy the Whistle Pig Rye.
Yep.
I bought a bottle of Whistle Pig bourbon, which I had been looking for months. I saw it, I bought it, and I hated it.
Yeah.
I took one drink and I was like, I'm going to take this to the lounge because somebody will drink it. And you know,
I'll give it out to someone, right?
and so we have a guy in our lounge that he is, first of all, he is disabled.
Okay.
And so he is on a monthly fixed income.
Okay.
And so he doesn't buy expensive cigars. He doesn't buy expensive bourbons. He loves both. And so on occasion, everybody be like, hey, man, try this out. Well, I had that Whistle Pig, and we poured him a glass, and I said, hey, man, try this. Because if he liked it, I was going to say, take it.
Yeah.
He took one drink, and he was like, no. And I was like, so if you know Matthew doesn't like it, it's no good.
I'm big on taste profiles. Like, we all have different taste profiles. right? And you may like something, and I may hate it.
You
right?
may hate it.
Yep, right. And so you meet different people. They introduce different things into your pool, and you try different things, and you figure out who has a profile that's a lot like yours, right? And from that, I've been suggested a lot of really good cigars. Yeah.
And,
All with different characteristics too, right? So there's the length of so sometimes I'll come here to this spot and I'm like, all right, I'm here to work. I'm going to be here for only 2 hours. Therefore, this is the size cigar I'm going to get. Like, I know what my experience is going to be. Versus another day when I'm coming.
For being only 2 years in,
yeah,
that's really good that you know what cigar equals what time.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's a
Time is a big deal.
jump ahead.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to ever feel like I've got to finish a cigar, right? And that it's work.
Now,
I don't ever want that.
For me,
Yep.
I never worry about finishing a cigar because do you smoke in your car?
No.
Well, I'm a professional. I do. So I don't ever have to finish it before I leave.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But not having that pressure, right? It's just, hey, I'm enjoying this, and I love feeling like I got to get every little bit of a cigar because I'm enjoying it, right? Versus
I don't ever want to be rushed on that cigar.
Right, exactly.
And because I smoke in my vehicle, I'm like, all right, let's go. And I just keep smoking. But I understand there are some times, depending on what I'm doing with the wife, that I can't smoke. And so I don't want to light up that cigar when I know I only have 30 minutes.
So here's the difference between you and me. Is that I don't smoke at home. All right. For me, it's a function of the camaraderie, sitting around with people. How long is this person going to be? How long are my friends going to be here? And I'll time the cigar based off of, hey, do I have an hour? Do I have 2 hours? What do I have? And based upon that, that'll also dictate what kind of cigar that I get, right? Because I don't want to feel rushed.
Let me tell you what I'm jealous of you about. Like, how often do you smoke cigars in a month? How many in a month do you think you have?
Maybe 8 or 9,
Okay.
like in a month.
So basically, in a month, I'm smoking that in a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we're very different in that respect.
Here's
yes.
what I'm jealous about.
What's that?
One is, I could be driving a brand new $60,000 truck,
right?
But I'm not.
Yeah.
No, the part that I'm jealous about is if I only smoke, say, 10 cigars in a month,
right?
I could afford to buy the very best of what I want.
Right.
But when you smoke 8 a day, I can't afford to smoke the very best all day, every day.
I haven't. The beauty is that where I am right now, I don't really care about the price of the cigar. It's about the experience.
That's what I mean. I'm jealous of that. I'm jealous of that.
If you give me a good cigar, I'm like, man, this is a really nice cigar. Like, I tried an Andalusian Bull, and I was like, I've never had a cigar last this long. Like, it lasted forever. Now, I don't know if that's your experience with that cigar.
Well, how was the experience on the Andalusian Bull for you?
I've never had a cigar that lasted as long, that burned as cleanly, and at the same time, like it was an experience, right? It was a trip to take. Friends of mine, it was actually my birthday, and I was given the cigar, and I went, I've never had a cigar that I left, went to the bathroom, came back, and it was still
burning.
It was still burning, perfectly fine, right?
I have those same experiences, and whenever I set a cigar down and I've got to go run and do something and then come back and it's still burning, I'm like, oh yeah,
that's a good cigar. I truly enjoy, and at the same time, it wasn't work. It was just flowing with it, right? It was a great experience.
Now,
right?
Being a newer cigar smoker,
Of course.
have you let me see how I put this. Have you figured out
What I like?
what sizes you like?
Yes, and
Because that's another step.
It's interesting that you asked that. It's really more determined by what's my time. Am I rushed? Am I not? Do I really want to sit down and enjoy something, or do I want to just kind of push through and enjoy the company more so than the cigar? All those factors go into me saying, yep, nope. I want a mild. I don't like a really light cigar. I
don't either.
Yeah, I don't like that. Right
now,
mid.
Have you smoked any Connecticut's? Do you like Connecticut's?
No, I haven't. I haven't tried that.
So when I was in your position at 2 years old, not 2 years old, 2 years as a cigar smoker.
Of course.
So
I'm a 2-year-old. I'm a neophyte. Yes.
I'm smoking with a toddler.
I'm not offended by that whatsoever. Yes, I'm still learning. Absolutely, for all the listeners.
But I went down a road that you're not going down. You are miles ahead of me at the time when I was smoking at the same stage.
Do you know why? And I curse my friends
because you're with good friends.
I'm with good friends, and I'm like, man, I can't even appreciate a really bad cigar because all I've had is good stuff. And I was sitting here one day, and I said, what is that smell? And my buddy leans over, he goes, that's a bad cigar. And I went, oh, okay.
You can
someone else
smell them from a mile away.
I'm like, oh, okay, right?
And so you've never had to smoke those?
I've never smoked those.
You are so spoiled.
No, I've never smoked that, right?
I have smoked cigars that were equivalent, and pardon my language, but they were complete dog shit.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I bought a box of those and would smoke the whole box. And I was like, but it was a really dark cigar, and it was a 6x60. It was huge. Yeah. And I just thought, this is what a cigar smoker does.
It's probably bad of me, but I never look at the prices. I'm just like, hey, this is what I'd like today, blah, blah, blah. Because they'll ask you here, what do you really want your experience to be today? Do you want something dark? Do you want something light? Are you, what size? And I'll tell them, and they'll suggest something, which is great. And it's always been great, right? But thought of pushing through a cigar and feeling
that
like that I don't like, and that I got to get my money's worth. No, that's not what cigar smoking should be.
No, it's not. And so
it should accent my experience.
It's not the be all, it's the compliment.
Yes, I'm sorry, it should compliment.
And if it's not a compliment, then you're missing the mark.
Yeah.
And so what I loved about, though, like you said, when I walked into y'all's humidor, the tobacconist, I asked him, I said, I would like to know what your go-to stick in the whole humidor is. Because if it's something I haven't smoked, I want to smoke it. And he said to me, are we talking about price is no issue? Or are we talking about like an everyday smoke? And I was like, well, give me both. Because I'm on vacation. And so right now, well, to be honest with you, Joel's paying for my cigar. So, price is no object to me. I'm just kidding you. I'm very conscious.
For me, honestly, a cigar accents my compliments. I like the word better. Compliments my experience here. And so I look at the end of the evening, how much have I paid for that experience, right? And it lets me it allows me the opportunity to just enjoy the cigar and not worry about the cost so much, right?
When you think about it, it's not that expensive.
Right, it's not that expensive. I'm not walking out with a $200 bill. That's not me, right?
Right.
It's not me at all.
Unfortunately, I do that a lot. But, think about this, though. You have a daughter, you told me earlier.
Yep.
If you took her to a movie and you bought drinks and popcorn and candy, you're going to spend $40-$50
I'm spending
easy.
more. I told her, I actually did that. It's just funny that you should mention that. I took her to a movie. I looked at her, I'm like, no, you need to wake up. I spent $50 for you to watch this movie. You need to wake up,
Nice meeting you, bro. I met a fellow Texan born in Port Arthur, Texas.
Which is crazy,
Which is where I was born. So, small world, bro. Nice meeting you.
Again, you meet the most interesting people at cigar bars thus far. Like, that's the really good thing about this place is that I've never had a bad experience. And you have, over a cigar, you can talk to people from different walks of life.
And there's no strangers.
And there's no strangers. And you can differ in opinions, but the fact that you're sitting there having a cigar, you talk about the cigar, it's always been great. And I said something earlier in that smoking a cigar at this place is like buying a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Right?
And I've never been here before.
Yeah,
this
we
is
didn't
my
know we were
first
going
time.
Yeah.
I go in a humidor, I go to the bar, I come out here on the patio.
Yep.
I see a friendly face, and I'm like, "Hey, can I sit here?" And he's like, "Yeah, knock yourself out." And then Joel sits, and we've got new friends that. Where else in the world would you be able to walk into a place and automatically be like, "Yeah"?
You know, I watched something. I read something actually about a group of female executives, and they would get together, and you know what they would do? They would have tea. And you know why they would have tea? Because you cannot gulp tea.
Because it's hot.
Because it's hot, right? And so it forced everyone to sit and talk, and converse over tea. I think cigars are the same thing for men.
100%.
Right? We sit down and we talk, and we network and share ideas. It's been great. I love it.
Now,
I didn't go into it loving cigars. I'm like, my buddy introduced me, and it's been all downhill from there.
So for me, the way I started was I grew up in West Texas, and I ended up moving from West Texas to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in Lubbock, so all my friends, family were still in Lubbock. But
this is a great cigar, by the way.
I knew you would like it. I'm glad you like it.
Yes.
You pick someone a cigar and you hope that they love it, and if they don't, you kind of feel bad that you gave them that cigar.
No, but you're not shoving your opinion and you asked me what I liked, and you said, you know what, try this.
Well, I saw you smoking the LFD Chapter 2, so I knew you were not like frail.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I knew
Fair
you
enough.
could handle it.
Fair enough. Yes.
But
I get another badge on my shoulder here.
Right.
2 years in.
Let me tell you something. 2 years in, you were so far ahead of so many people I know at that stage. And so what that tells me is, one, you have good friends that smoke cigars and they've had a lot of experience. And two, you're at a badass lounge, bro. You know what I mean?
They've been good here. I honestly, they've taken care of me. And in their minds, because they don't write it down, they're like, last time I suggested this, you didn't like it. Therefore,
oh, really?
I want to say, yeah.
They're not writing it down. They know.
No, they know.
That is impressive.
I'm like Javier, who's normally here. I'm like, hey, the last time.
No, I met Javier. He was here when I first got here.
It's like, hey, the last time. Actually, Javier bought me a cigar the last time, and he goes, I think you're gonna love this cigar. And it was my father's, and it was.
Remember which one?
Gusto, I can't remember.
So
right?
I'm a fan of my father's overall.
Yes.
If you haven't tried the let me back up. La Grande Oferte?
No.
That.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the one with a kind of a light blue ribbon on the foot.
Okay.
Phenomenal cigar. So,
and again, he has been suggesting cigars over time, and he's like, you typically like this. And I'm like, okay.
Nice.
Yes, I am somewhat of a regular here, but it allows me the freedom, right, to try new things, and I'd like it or don't like it, and it's no skin off their back. They're like, all right, we're honing in on what it is that you like, and once we find that, then we're still going to suggest some other things, right, to introduce things into your taste pool, because they're going to be new cigars that are put out there over time, and they're like, hey, this fits what I know that you typically like, and that's been very helpful here.
Now,
it has taken over, has eliminated the intimidation factor of like, this place here is not really like that. Like, we welcome new people all the time.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is I just said earlier, you are so spoiled. Yeah. But what I will say on top of that is, I feel like I'm being spoiled the whole time I'm here. That is hats off to Cutters.
Yeah.
I mean, now, have you been to very many other cigar lounges?
Have not. Well,
have you been to any?
I've been to one other, right? Maybe one or two other.
And how'd that compare?
Is not the same. Yeah. Either they're focused on food and, oh, yeah, by the way, we have cigars.
Now, that's not for me.
Yeah.
And I'm not usually a fan of cigar lounges that are also a bar.
Right.
Like at our lounge, we don't have a bar, but as a member, we hang out in the lounge area for the back that's for members.
Right.
And so we're allowed to bring our own. But usually the cigar shops I've been to that are also a bar,
Right.
it loses the cigar lounge feel.
Fair enough.
They
Yeah.
have maintained.
Maintain.
You
Yeah.
are coming to a cigar bar that happens
Oh
to
yeah.
sell bourbon.
By the way, we happen to have a bar as well, which has been great because it's more about pairing cigars with a drink choice versus the other way around.
Yeah, and,
Right.
and they have a great selection behind
They
the
do.
bar.
Yeah.
Like, I was impressed with their humidor, and that was something else I was going to say is I love how neat they keep it. Like our lounge,
Yeah.
it is so neat and proper the way it should be that it just increases the value of the experience.
Yeah.
If I go in and there's cigars just scattered everywhere and it's disheveled, I'm like,
I haven't had that experience yet, so I hear it. I would probably walk out because it's like, hey, this is too confusing for me. It's
Okay.
too much.
There's a lounge that I love the people there. I
Yep.
love the people. But you walk in the humidor, there's boxes of cigars on the floor.
Oh yeah.
All the cigar boxes on the shelves are closed.
Right.
So you have to
You
pull
can't
the
see. Oh,
box
yeah,
out,
yeah, yeah.
open it up, and then go, oh, no, I don't want that. Put it back. And I mean, it's like, I don't want to go in there
Oh,
and
yeah,
do
no,
that.
no, no.
Oh,
No.
and you can't find anything.
Plus, these guys are very knowledgeable. I'll give them that. Like,
Oh.
I'll ask a question and they go right over my head. I'm like, that's okay. You know,
Hey,
yeah,
the-
as long as I know that my humidor guy,
The the tobacconist
yeah.
that has 2 years experience
tobacconist, there, yeah.
blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, you're good. You are really good. And now I have that same benefit at my home shop,
Right.
but I've been to, I don't even know how many
Of course,
shops. And there's a shop in the Dallas area, and I'm not going to name their name,
Yeah.
which is unusual because usually I'm a dick like that. But I walked, well, first of all, a friend of mine who's not really a cigar smoker started listening to the show. And after he heard so much of us talking about the camaraderie and the community, he was like, I'm going to try this. So he goes to his shop and he emails me one day and he's like, dude, I didn't get that at all. They were no help to me. They were rude. And I was like, but I
heard that
know
that
you.
happens.
Well, I was like,
Yeah.
I know you, and you're kind of a dick.
Yeah.
So maybe it's your fault. So I met him at that lounge.
Right.
And I walked in and I was like, nope, they are not customer friendly
Yeah.
unless you're a regular. And I'm like, that is not how you run a lounge.
Right.
It was
Right.
very disappointing.
No, I mean, it turns you off from being a regular. Turns you off from learning. Right. It's just that's a bad experience. It hasn't been mine.
Oh, and that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that, and I'll say this, I haven't been to very many shops that are like that.
Right.
Most shops are all about the
Which
consumer.
is cool because this has been a great experience being here, you know, and also it hasn't been a, oh yeah, by the way, I'll smoke a cigar. Now I'm actually enjoying the cigar and I'm like, I'm going to have a cigar whether I have friends here or not. But at the same time, it's because this is such a great environment for me to sit and relax, enjoy the cigar. And I might say, I don't like this one, let's try something else. Okay. Right. But it's a good experience. And you know, no longer, like I said earlier, it's not just, you know, like burning tobacco leaves. Like every cigar has its own characteristics. I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. And paired with, and so when we were talking about the fact that this has a bar, I'm slowly getting into pairing of cigars as well, right? I did a cigar tasting, a bourbon tasting, and everyone was smoking cigars, and it's like, hey, this bourbon with this cigar, try it. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So I got to ask you, though,
What's that?
were you a bourbon drinker before cigars?
I was not. It probably happened at the same time, both of them.
Now, was
Right.
it together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I would say that I have an appreciation for what I like and what I dislike in bourbons. That was very quick, you know, versus, I mean, in analyzing what my likes and dislikes were.
It's a lot easier than cigars.
It's a lot easier, yes.
Because
As a
there's
way-
so many different blends of cigars, and bourbons kind of fall into like 3 categories.
Yeah.
So once you find what you like,
Yeah.
it's easy to steer towards
Well,
what
there you
like.
go. See?
I didn't drink
Nicely
bourbon
put. Yeah.
before I smoked cigars.
Yeah.
I didn't drink coffee before I smoke cigars.
Oh, really? I am finding, and this is new for me, like a cappuccino with a cigar.
Oh, I love
Oh,
cappuccino.
it's
I didn't
nice.
even know they had
They have
cappuccino.
them here,
So
yeah,
after
absolutely.
this drink, I'm going to have a cappuccino.
Yes, they have cappuccinos here, and that's been nice too. Where it's like, hey, I don't have to have necessarily a drink. Man, this is nice with a nice cigar. You know, this cappuccino, which I enjoy. Yeah, and so this environment allows us to have that experience here, which has been cool. You know?
And let me kind of, well, first of all, I forgot. I didn't tell everybody what I'm smoking.
Oh,
I'm smoking the Aladino Corojo Reserva, which is basically my favorite Aladino. And do you know who Aladino is?
no. Educate me.
So Aladino came about because you know who Camacho is.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
years ago, Camacho was bought out by Davidoff.
Okay.
And it was Christian Aurora that was the owner of Camacho. So when he sold it, Davidoff took over the Camacho line and he started his own. Well, he has a brother named Justo, and Justo started his own line.
Okay.
So if I saw him in there. They have the Asylum. I don't know if you smoked one of those.
I've seen. I have not smoked it.
So that's Christian Aurora.
Okay.
Well, his brother started Aladino, and I can't prove this fact unknown,
Right.
but his dad, which is an amazing story in itself, his dad is over 80 years old.
Mm-hmm.
His dad was brought up in Cuba. He escaped Cuba, came to America, went and served in the war, became a pilot, and then after the war, he was flying some people somewhere and they crashed, and everybody was fine except for him, and he was paralyzed from the waist down.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, at 80-something years old, he is in the fields
Yeah.
checking the plants,
Yeah.
checking the factory rollers. I mean, like, he is meticulous.
Yes.
And so, to me, that blows me away.
The story is important. I mean, and quality, and consistency is huge. Right?
And when you're 80-something and you care so much about your product that, like, before he had, like, this electric scooter thing, he was actually in the field on, like, these handcrafted crutches.
Okay.
Because he wanted to be out there. That was
yeah.
in his blood.
Yeah.
And so I love his cigars. And so I say that the dad, he blends and creates the tobacco for both brothers.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you that.
Yeah.
But I know they're all getting their tobacco from him.
Of course.
I mean, it is what
why
it
would
is.
why would you not?
Right.
Yeah.
And so that family has the heritage and the experience, and I love the story. And that's one of the things I love about the cigar industry is when you get to talk to people like that. And I've had the honor, because of the show, to interview like guys I never thought I would be able to talk to.
Oh yeah.
I was on another show as a guest probably 6-8 weeks ago, and the other guest on the show was Carlito Fuente.
Mm-hmm.
Carlito Fuente sent me a 20 cigar sampler with all of the most difficult cigars to get
find,
that
yeah.
he makes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, how awesome is that? Because I'm going to tell you right now, and all the listeners already know, I'm nobody. Like, I am nobody special. Like, I don't even know why. And you may not know this by listening, but I grew up with a speech impediment.
Mm-hmm.
So to be a talk show host is ridiculous.
You never know it.
Well, right.
Yeah.
But it's because I've never been afraid. I've never let anything that was maybe what some people would consider a shortcoming to hold me back.
Of course.
I'm always like, I can do that.
Yeah.
I'll do that. And, you know, even if I suck, if I want to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And so all of my experience in the cigar industry has led me to where I am now, where I've got to talk to people with experience that just blows my mind. And so I'm very thankful and humbled by that. I'm in Atlanta right now because shops wanted me to come out here for an event.
Cool.
And I'm like,
very cool.
when I got the call, I was like, you want me to come out? I mean, I guess the Barnum Bailey Circus was not available. But
I got to interrupt you. I'm smoking this cigar, and I got to tell
you
you.
got to pull the band off.
I'm about to.
All right.
I'm about to. But I think I judge a cigar by right now I'm sitting here going, man, this is almost to the band, and I'm going to hold this by my fingertips to finish it because it's so good.
You know what I call that?
There's certain cigars where it's like 2 inches.
You're
I'm
done.
With it.
You're
done.
done.
I'm done. I'm like, you know what? I got to take the band off now to get the
and
last
he already
inch.
has the band all the way up to where I know when he's puffing, he's got part of the band on his lips.
Absolutely. Close to it. Yep. Absolutely. So this is a good cigar. A good experience.
I always say for me, the best cigars are the cigars that are so good that I smoke them down to the
Down to the nubs.
very down. And I'm like, when I feel like I'm going to be sad that it's over, I know that was
a good cigar. Exactly. I'm sitting here going, man, you can't see me, but I'm pinching the cigar to finish it off.
He's got about 1.25 inches left. And it is one of those cigars for me that I mean,
refuse to use the pokers, by the way. I'm not there yet.
No, I don't do pokers. You know what? If you use one, lights out, knockout for you. You enjoy it. You be you.
Yep.
But for me, I'm going to smoke it down to where I cannot hold it any
You're
longer.
burning your fingers.
And I'm done.
There you go. Done. Yeah.
Now, have you seen, like, if a cigar, you cut it and do you use a cold draw?
No.
Okay. So for me, as soon as I cut it, before I light it, I do a cold draw because I want to know if I'm going to enjoy smoking it. If it's plugged,
okay.
I'm done.
For me, I
don't need to light it.
I smell it first.
Oh,
right. I'm like, man, let me take in the smell of the cigar.
Now I do that in the humidor. Like when I pick out a cigar, I'm like,
well, I don't do that because I don't want other people sniffing my cigar and putting it back.
Now,
but I hear you.
Once you pick it up, it's yours.
Yeah.
But I love to get that aroma, and I'm like, I want to smoke this.
Yeah.
But I don't use.
It's like a preamble. Oh yeah, they'll do that to open it up. They say, and I've heard.
Okay,
I've never done that.
Same with water in the bourbon. I'm not going to skew my cigar, and I'm not going to put water in my bourbon.
Okay,
I want to experience what the blender wanted me to experience.
Okay.
And if he wanted me to experience a bourbon with 3 drops of water in it, he would have put that in there. That's just me.
That's a perspective. Yeah, for sure.
Some people say that maybe I'm a cigar snob or a bourbon snob, and I don't see it that way. I like to consider myself a purist.
Yeah.
I want the purest experience that you, as a blender or distiller or whatever you call yourself, to experience.
I've only, in my 2 years, I've had some cigars unravel on me. And buddy of mine, he's like, send that back. I'm like, okay, right? So
now can y'all do that?
Oh, yeah.
So if a cigar unravels, the
it's
shop's
really bad. They take care of people here for sure, right? But I've got other people around me. They're like, that's not a cigar. It should not do that. You should not have a boat that should be burning easily. Like should be a nice burn. There's something wrong with the humidor or how they've done whatever, right? And they take care of people here. So
I've had some cigars that literally look like the cartoons back in our youth, where the cigar had a bomb in it, and it exploded
at the end. I saw that earlier today, believe it or not.
And you know what I've done?
What's that?
If it's a really good
I'm
cigar,
about to learn something here.
I smoke it anyway. I will smoke it all the way down.
I've had that.
I've had and I don't smoke a lot of Davidoff, but I really enjoy the Oscuro and the Nicaraguan series. And I had an Oscuro.
Is that really peppery?
No.
What would you call it? Really?
No.
Okay. All right.
I've never had a Davidoff that's peppery or very strong.
Okay. And I may be using the wrong term. That's
No.
That's the neophyte in me, right?
If you smoke a AJ Fernandez, you're going to get pepper. That is like a signature of AJ Fernandez, which I don't know if you know much about AJ Fernandez, but AJ Fernandez is probably the #1 blender in the world.
Okay.
He's in Nicaragua down in Esteli, and he has he blends his own cigars, AJ Fernandez, and I won't say every cigar company, but all the big companies have a special edition cigar that he blended for them because he's that good.
He's that good. Gotcha. Yeah.
Like, he is up there with the Fuente grandfather. Like, he dreams about that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And so when I smoke his cigars, you're always going to get a little bit or a lot of black pepper.
Got it.
And on occasion, I really like that.
Yeah.
On occasion, I don't want that.
Right.
So, like where I am as a cigar smoker, it's all about my mood.
Yes. Oh, that's what I was talking about, right? Some days I'm like, you know what? I think I'll want just a mild cigar. But some days I'm like, no, I want a cigar with full bodied, but not that's gonna burn.
A little more mellow.
Right? There's a mellow full body.
That's a nice. And
Yes.
That's pretty close to that.
Yeah, that's that.
That
right?
is a full bodied
Yeah.
cigar, but it doesn't kick your ass.
Exactly.
And one of the
Yeah.
reasons, though, is because of that size. Like, if you smoke that in a 6-inch, there's a good chance when you got to the last third of that 6-inch,
Yeah.
it would be kicking your ass.
Got it.
I smoked a Padron 1926 45th anniversary probably 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I hadn't had one of those in a long time. It's a pricey cigar, and I don't smoke a lot of really pricey cigars.
Gotcha.
And anyway, every once in a while I feel like, you know what? I deserve that. You know what I mean? You deserve good.
Yes. I have a cigar that's just that same way.
you're right.
People talk about it, but I'm like, I enjoy this cigar. There.
Isn't it nice to treat yourself
It
with
is.
something like that
Yeah.
that you know is going to give you that experience?
Yep. Consistency. That's key.
Oh, consistency is
Yeah,
amazing.
consistency is huge for me.
But I was smoking that cigar, and when I got down to the final third, like, have you ever got the cold sweat?
No.
Oh, you
From
haven't?
a cigar? No.
So when it has so much nicotine in it,
Yeah.
and you haven't eaten, you know, it'll give you that little bit of like dizzy feeling almost. And it's like, when I experienced it, I was like, whoa, I have not experienced this in years. Now, if you do have that happen,
Yeah.
the fix is take just a little bit of sugar, put it under your tongue, it's gone.
Really?
And the cigar shop owner was like, hey, would you want me to get you some sugar? You want some water? And I was like, no, I actually want to experience this
Right.
the full ride.
The full ride.
And after about 15 minutes.
Note to self, carry around a packet of sugar.
Well, a lot of lounges will have.
Really? That's the first I've heard of that.
He doesn't actually carry sugar,
Yeah.
but he carries these little suckers.
Okay.
You just put the sucker in your mouth, put it on
Yeah.
your tongue, and within like a minute, you'll feel fine.
Really?
But I was like, no, I don't want that. I want to experience this because it's been so long.
Yeah.
Because it is part of the experience.
Well, for neophytes such as myself, I've had a few 2-cigar, like instances, sittings, right, where I've had to pair the cigars, right? I've had this one. Now, what do I want as my second one, right? I know we talked about 8 cigars a day, but for me, 2 is the most that I've ever had. And it's kind of like, all right, I'll gauge what that second cigar is based off of what bourbon that I've had, what coffee I've had, prior.
So you're having a second cigar right now.
I'm having a second cigar.
So that's all right.
It's a second, but it's not a huge one, right? So I wasn't, like turned off by that. It's perfect, right? It's perfect for our little call here, for sure.
When you smoke a cigar and call it perfect, that's a good day.
No, I'll look and go, hey, I'm saving that wrapper. That was a good cigar.
and you told me earlier,
Yeah.
you're 50.
Yep. I'm 50.
So you started when you were 48.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember. I think I started when I was about 40. No, I was about 38.
Okay.
I'm 53 now, so what, 15 years?
Okay.
And so I am amazed at where you are for 2 years in. Like I'm like, dude, you're
Hey,
bypassing all the pitfalls.
Well, the problem is that, again, I can't appreciate the bad stuff, right? So I only go for what's considered the good stuff.
and
right.
and so, I mean, you don't even know what you've bypassed.
Yes.
There's a lot of bad cigars out there. But you know what I noticed is the humidor here doesn't carry any bad cigars that I steer clear of.
Right.
Except for like the Drew Estate flavored cigars. But those aren't bad cigars. Yeah. They're just not for me.
Right.
And they're still quality tobacco.
Right. And there's some bad cigars, just like bad cars and so forth, where the standard is, hey, you're below that line, right? But in general, I've always stayed above that line, apparently, right? And I've had great experiences. I've dabbled into, like, hey, let me try that because it has a cool wrapper. Yeah, no, that was it. That was a fail. That was a bad scratch off, right?
It happens.
Like, let me try it again. Right?
And I'll tell you this. If you smoke a cigar that you were like, it's really not that good. Mm-hmm. If you circle back around to that cigar in 6 months, you might really like it.
Oh.
Because here's the thing. Where you are right now with your palate, that's not where you're going to be a year from now.
Well, does the palate change seasonally?
Yes. Well, I hate to say seasonally, but it is a learning curve.
Okay. Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
what
absolutely.
you like today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if I go back, there's cigars I smoked 10 years ago that I'm like, I would never smoke that again.
Right. My buddies, they started me off where they're like, hey, you're not ready for that yet. I'm like, whatever, right? But they started me off slowly, right, and progressed to the point where there's not a cigar that I could go in there and someone recommend that's too bold, right? It's more of a, hey, do I appreciate the boldness of that cigar? Yes or no, right? And move on, right? But
I'm still at that point. Even as far as I am, if it's super bold, it might be too bold for me,
right?
Because over the years, I've pulled back from. I maybe smoke 5-6 bold cigars in a week.
Right.
So at 8 a day, that's not even one a day.
It's a small percentage of the overall.
And there's days where I'm like, man, you know what? I want a bold cigar. And I'll go buy a Le Bijou 1922 from my father's, or I'll go buy a Partagas Black.
That's what it was. A Le Bijou is the
one.
Oh,
you had that one.
Yes.
So they started you right out the gate with the upper echelon.
Yeah, the tobacconist is what you called him. Yeah, so he came out. He's like, hey, I want you to smoke this. I think you'll enjoy it.
And what'd you think?
Right. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
So where I am on that cigar, I love that cigar.
That was a good cigar.
But at our shop, they carry the Petite Corona, which is only about that long.
Right.
And I'm showing him about 4 inches. Yeah. And it's like, it's strong, it's bold, but when it's just this long, it doesn't take me to the level to where I'm like, that's heavy.
Yeah.
Just like that stick.
Yep.
I really like shorter sticks.
Still, I'm looking at that. It's probably 1 inch long, and I'm like, I can get a little bit more.
I
can
get a little more.
I get a little more. Yeah.
And you know what's funny is I'm smoking this Corojo. I'm not even a halfway in.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I have had to relight it like 5 or 6 times, but mainly because I talk a lot when I'm doing the show.
Fair enough.
And so I'm not smoking it on my regular pace. Now, how did you learn, like, how often that you should take a puff?
Oh, my buddy will look at me and be like, take a couple puffs of that.
Nice.
He's like, you need to, like, blow on it.
Like, if you don't let it go out and it's almost about to go out, that's perfect.
Yeah.
When I first started, I was a fast smoker. I'd be like, puff, puff, puff. But I smoked cigarettes for 24 years back in my youth. And then I quit all tobacco for about 12 years.
Yeah.
And then when I started smoking cigars, I went back to that cigarette puff, puff, puff.
Yeah.
And over time, I've slowed down.
I've slowed down. At the same time, I can look at it and decide, hey, you need to blow through that a little bit or puff through it. Like, I've gotten my own little pattern now where I can look at it.
And you're aware of it.
I'm aware of it.
And when you're aware of it, it just makes the experience that much more better.
Like back in the day, I might be looking at this and going, I need to hit it with the lighter. Nope, it's still lit.
Now,
It's still lit.
have you ever tried to light a cigar that short? It's
No,
dangerous.
because
It's dangerose.
yeah. Lose an eyebrow. Yeah,
I've lost mustache a lot, and I hate trying to relight one
Oh, of
because
course,
you got to
of course.
keep smoking it so you don't have
So you
to
don't-
light that
yes.
again. Because when
Absolutely.
you're down there, if it goes out, you're done.
You're done. Yeah, no, understood.
Game over,
Yeah.
and you're done.
I've been cheating while you're talking. I'm puffing.
So,
Yeah.
off of the subject of cigars, because, really for me, the whole experience comes down to the cigar community.
Yes.
Because without the cigar community, I don't know that I would even be smoking cigars.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. I don't smoke. I have them at home, but I don't smoke at home. Right? I come here, I'll have a cigar, might have two, and then I'm back. Right? So it is an outlet for me for sure. Right? And it's something that I enjoy. It's not forced. Right? But at home, it's just me, and I'm like, you know what? This is part of an experience for me.
Right.
Right. So it's the camaraderie, it's all of that. Right. And I've met awesome people here, sometimes every week, sometimes once every 6 months. Always a great experience. Right.
And
So this represents an experience for me versus, hey, I gotta, it's not an addiction.
Right.
I'm just smoking to get through something.
So, like for me, some people would say it is an addiction because I smoke so many.
Yeah.
But there is days, depending on what I have going on in my work life, where I won't smoke for 2 or 3 days. And it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
And then the fourth day when I can smoke again, I go right back to 8 cigars a day. It's
Right.
like, and it's so different than like cigarettes. Did you ever smoke cigarettes? Because you don't look like a cigarette smoker.
not smoking,
You're
yeah.
way more classier
Yeah.
than me. So, like smoking cigarettes, I used to smoke 3 packs a day,
Wow.
and it was an addiction.
Right.
It took
Anything that much.
Me, it took me 24 years to quit.
Yeah.
And I tried many times. And then finally I gave it up, and I really thought I'll never smoke again. And I never even thought about cigars because, I never smoked cigars as a kid.
Right.
And so when I came upon cigars and I realized you didn't inhale, I was like, I can do that. Because when you smoke for 24 years and you're smoking 3 packs a day, I could get up from here and walk out to the car and I'd be tired.
Right.
I literally would be breathing heavy.
Yeah.
I go see my doctor now, and he will tell me, he knows I do a show for cigars, and he'll tell me, he says, just because I have to, I got to tell you, you should quit smoking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. I said, but you listen to my lungs and tell me they sound like a smoker.
Yeah.
And he listens. He's like, nope, you sound good.
Yeah.
And then he says, so any new cigars I should check out?
It's funny because my optometrist, same thing. He's like, oh, I enjoy cigars. Let's get together, blah, blah. And I went, oh, okay. All right.
And I mean, dude, the amount of connections you get from cigars.
Yeah. The benefit, far outweighs, the negativity, that people say about cigars.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard this,
What's
but
that?
the FDA did a study on cigars, and their findings were this. If you smoke 2 cigars a day or less, it increases your chances of getting cancer by neal.
All right.
And I'm like, I thought that already, but I'm an optimist. I'm a very
your lungs
positive.
regenerate. That's what I keep telling myself, right? And so you're not inhaling and doing all that. So
Now, are you
I'm
aware of
okay
this?
with that.
Your palate replaces its tasting buds
Yeah,
every 5 to 7 days.
not surprising.
You get new buds
That's
at
surprising.
least every 5 to 7 days. And
That's
so it's an ever-changing. So your palate doesn't stay the
Yes,
same, though.
Not the same. Yeah,
Because when you grow them back, they're not exactly like they were.
Right.
And then your experience with that creates an experience in itself.
yeah. So today you might enjoy something, and 2 weeks from now or a month from now, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I don't think I like that so much
Exactly.
anymore.
So
And the beauty is in cigars, you can move on. You know?
Oh, yeah, because there's
Yeah.
a million more
Of
that
course.
will take the place of
I
what
think
you did.
I've pulled from 8 or 10 boxes in that humidor. There are a lot more than 8 or 10 cigars that are there, right?
I'm going to guess that humidor is probably about a 15 by 30.
Okay.
Pretty good size.
Okay.
I mean, I've been in the shops to where the humidor was 10 by 8.
Got it.
Or I've actually been to some that was like 5 by 6. I mean, it's small.
Yeah, small. Yeah.
But you know what? They had a good selection for that size.
Yep.
And the lounge was exceptional.
Yeah.
Like,
What you'll find, and you didn't experience it here today, but a lot of people, especially during this time and age, we come here and we work during the day, right? So this is a destination for, people that work at home. They'll come here, smoke cigars, and work all day.
so
right.
back to something you said earlier,
What's that?
and we discussed it, but
Was it profound?
the camaraderie,
Yeah.
which you love, which I think all of us do, it's not just that. You come up here to work,
Yep.
so you're not really being overly sociable,
No.
but it's also very relaxing
It is.
while you do your work.
While you do your work. Yep.
And so when I work, I'm smoking.
Gotcha.
When I drive, I'm smoking.
You'll find that here all the time. There are people that come here, work for 2 hours, and then leave. But they're here every day.
I go
Right.
in my backpack, I have a laptop that's ready to fire up and go to work.
Yep.
Because I assume, like you always have to be available to do the job.
Of course.
And so
I came here with a briefcase full of a computer and all the accoutrements to work on a Saturday. That bag has not been opened the entire time I've been here, right? So, I've just decided, hey, you know what? This is better. I'm enjoying the time this here, right? And that's what cigars do for me.
So this is a point where we're going to steer away from the actual cigar experience.
All right.
And
Okay.
because I believe that the most important part of all of the cigars is the community.
Agreed.
And so I like to find out about the people I smoke with.
Yep.
Because that's where the joy is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you're a world traveler. We talked about
I've been
that.
a few places.
Yeah, you've been a few places. You've been a lot of places.
Been a few places, yes.
So when did you start traveling outside of the United States? At what age?
17.
Wow.
Yeah, 16 or 17 was the first
And
time I left.
where did you go?
First place, Canada.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm half
counts.
Canadian.
There you go.
I'm half Canadian. My mother is from Alberta,
Okay.
and my grandfather is from Texas.
Yep.
And so he went up there, met a woman, and they had a kid, and then like a year later, they moved to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a big fan of Canada, of course. Where did you go?
I was Niagara Falls, right?
Oh, wow.
This is the first little.
I've never been there.
Listen, Buffalo, New York, coldest place I've ever been in my life. And I've been a lot of cold places, but, like the mist coming off the falls and all of that, it was just.
What
too
time
cold
of
for
year
me.
were you there?
It was wintertime for
Okay.
sure. For sure, right?
And I'm not a
But-
fan of the North at all in the winter.
I love it because you can always put clothes on, right? Being from the South, and I'm from Alabama originally, it gets to a point where you just want to lay naked underneath an air conditioner, right? Where it's just too hot, right? But you can always put clothes on, right?
I went up to Nebraska about 3 years ago,
Yep.
and the entire week I was there, the warmest it got was -1. That was the
Yeah.
warmest.
Yeah, that's insane.
That was
That's
not
insanity.
fun.
No, that's
I
not
was
fun.
like, you know what? I didn't put on more clothes. I never got out of the vehicle. I had the heater blasting.
Yep.
I'm smoking cigars.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm not going out there.
Yep. I'm a big snowboarder, so that was.
Oh,
my
are you
big-
really?
That was my big thing.
Wow.
So,
How'd you get
yeah.
into that being from Alabama?
That's
there's
all.
not a lot of
that's
snow-
yeah. There's not a lot of snow there, right? So, but no. So it was just. I tried skiing. It was horrible. That was in Italy, right? It was horrible.
Dude,
and I'm like,
Italy.
I'm like,
You
I will
tried
never
skiing for the first time in Italy.
Yes, in Italy, first time, and I went. You know what? Never doing that again. Had bad accidents, and so I had another opportunity to go snow sport, do some kind of snow sports. And I could do skiing or I could do snowboarding. And I'm like, nope, never going to ski again. And I went snowboarding, and it was
did you love
awesome.
it?
Loved it. Absolutely. There's a shirt that I have that says, skiing makes me bored, right? Love snowboarding. Absolutely phenomenal. But
So
yeah.
I snow skied,
Yeah.
and whenever I was in my youth, snowboarding hadn't come around yet.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And so my experience skiing was just tragedy. I was horrible. I didn't.
Join the club.
I remember we were up in Wolf Creek up in Colorado.
Yes, been there.
Oh, great
Yeah,
place.
been there.
But we're coming down, and you get to this part like where the forest is. And, so you're going down this way, and I'm like, hey, let's cut through the trees. And my buddy's like, nah, I'm going to stick to the trail. And so I ski out of bounds, basically.
Right.
And so I come up, and I'm looking, and you're going down.
Right.
And then it goes back up. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to ski down and go up. And then what happened was I skied down, and I got to the bottom, and I just stuck.
No momentum.
And
Yeah.
I was like, this deep in snow.
Right.
And I could hear something. I'm stuck. And I'm out of bounds. There's no people around.
Yeah.
And I'm listening, and I hear something, and I'm like, I hear water. I am on top of a creek.
Yeah.
And I can hear the water running below
Underneath
me.
you. Underneath you, yeah.
And so I start calling out to my friend. He comes over. He finds me because I don't come out. And while I'm in all this snow, I start trying to move.
Yeah.
And about a 25-foot circle of snow drops about 6 feet.
Yeah.
And I'm in that.
That's
6
actually
feet.
scary.
I
That's
was
actually
freaking
scary.
out. I was
Yeah.
like, "Are you leaving?" Oh, bro, nice meeting you, man. Good meeting you, man. Take care. So, yeah, when the snow dropped, I was like, I could be in trouble here. And so my buddy comes down, and we worked for like an hour trying to get me free.
Let me tell you,
But he doesn't want to get stuck like me.
Right. That makes you tired very quickly.
Oh,
And the
'cause
more
you're
it's like
using-
quicksand. It's quicksand.
You're using all your body strength.
I had that happen to me once where I ended up in a tree well, and I don't think I've ever been that tired in my life. But I watched a video or something maybe 2 weeks prior, and they were telling you how to get out of it. And I went, oh, well, luckily I watched that video.
How'd you
And
get
man,
out of it?
You use your board, and unlike skis, you plop it down and you pull yourself up. Plop it down and
So
you
you're
pull yourself.
looking at
Yeah,
like
you're
a blade.
Yeah, exactly. And let me tell you, even though you had that, man, that's the most tired I think I've ever been in my life getting out of that tree well. But people die.
Oh,
People die in tree wells.
I was very conscious that I was in a bad situation. And Tim, my best friend for 38 years, he's a great skier.
Yeah.
Even at 54, he still skis on a regular basis.
Right.
And he had gotten close to me where he could stick out his pole.
Yeah.
And
You guys have poles. Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
I could put my pole and he
Right.
would almost hook it together
Yeah.
almost. And he would pull.
And you
but
get 2 inches.
And that was it.
Yeah, that was it. Until
so
the next try.
After an hour, he was like, dude, I got to go get help.
Yeah.
And I was like, now that's going to suck because everybody's going to know I was down here. So he went and got a ski patrol. Dude, they showed up and within like 10 minutes had me out.
Had you out. Those guys are really good. So, I'm not telling you the whole story, but I ended up being skied off the mountain in Italy, right? And man, those guys are awesome.
Dude,
they're
they blew
awesome.
me away.
Yeah. They had me down, hooked me to a 4-wheeler, and dragged me through the town, to the doctor. And long story short, I'm like, I'll never do that again, right? But snowboarding, off-piste, like any, I'll go anywhere on a snowboard.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So no matter the difficulty, you're good to go.
Nope. And in actuality, the steeper, the easier it is to snowboard. Because I was teaching my nephews how to snowboard, and I'm like, hey, we got to go up. We can't hang down in these greens. trust me, if we go up to the blue, it's easier, right? Because you have more of a slope, and it's just easier. Snowboarding, and it may be a psychological thing. I strap in and I'm good to go. But skiing, I had this fear that my knees were going to come apart, and I was going to do this big split, and I'm going to bust up my knees and all of that. I'm like, nah, I'll pass.
Wow.
But snowboarding, once I caught that bug, I was, that was it.
So
and I've been all over.
We used to go when we were young. I mean, teenagers.
Yeah.
And I was not a good skier at all. But what I love to do is we would get on the really good blue slopes.
Yep.
And I didn't go back and forth. I just
straight
down. And when you get to the bottom, the ski patrols would be like, slow down. And I would just be like,
oh, we hated you skiers, right? We're like, hey, you're going left, and then all of a sudden you go right. I'm like, no, pick a path and keep it.
Yeah.
So you're a little different than the average skier, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't do the turning as much, so I just was like, and I would be wearing headphones, and I don't know if you know who this was, but Joe Satriani, do you know who that is?
Joe Satriani, come on, the silver
Surfing
surfer
with the aliens.
Yeah, surfer with the aliens. Are you
Dude.
kidding me? Yes.
If you're listening to that and you're doing about 40 miles an hour, it is just amazing.
I was teaching a couple people to snowboard and didn't realize, man, when you really pay attention, you've got to work out from the top down to the bottom. I mean, now they've got all the watches that can, record your heart rate and all that, but you had no idea how much work you were doing. You were having so much fun. Hey, I plug in my playlist, turn it on.
You don't even know you're working
and then
out.
Boom, just go.
Yeah.
Right? Joe Satriani, of course I do. Yes.
Now, at 53,
yes,
I would be scared to go ski.
Hey,
because
at
for
a younger age, I was scared. So I hear you.
But at 53, I don't know how much you work out.
Yeah.
But I don't. I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I'm married 27 years. I don't need to work out. But my buddy still goes, and I'm like, dude, I would be so exhausted.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing more. When you got done skiing for the day, you slept like a baby.
Oh no, you do snowboarding, but it's different.
It's not as exhausting.
It's different. Yeah, it's not as exhausting, and you're not walking through the town in these ski boots and I'd unstrap and then walk around just fine. So
what mountains did you go skiing in Italy?
Courmayeur is a small town in between Italy and France, and so that was you could literally ski from Italy into France kind of thing. It was really cool in the Alps. Yeah.
So how long were you in Italy?
Oh, I was only there for 2 weeks. Actually.
Okay. How was that experience though with the culture?
Oh, absolutely phenomenal. Italians are just so welcoming, right? And the food was so great. Great experience. Yeah. Love Italy. And I've been there a few times, right? Always inviting. Every time.
While you were over there, I'm sure that people were like, hey, where are you from?
Yeah.
And so when you said Alabama, did they know?
No, I never shared that. No, they don't know Alabama, but they know you're from the U.S., right? And so, but again, very inviting. They always wanted to share their wares. Like, I put my heart and soul into this sausage, and I want you to try it, right? They were really proud of it. No different than cigars and bourbons and things like that.
And was it more amazing than what we have?
Yes.
Yes.
So
the
here,
real deal.
Yes. Here we're all about convenience. We're all about, the amount. Whereas there, they'll like a creme brulee. It can be tiny, but you savor it, with small spoonfuls.
And you're not in a hurry.
You're not in a hurry. Here, it's all about, hey, let me give you a whole plate full of creme brulee. And you're like, all right, it's good, but it's not. Like, I can tell that was not made with vanilla bean. That was made with vanilla extract.
Extract, yeah.
Very different, right?
And
people there, they celebrate seasons, celebrate the seasonality of foods, and are proud of it once they, put their heart and soul into that meal and present it to you. Right?
Now, how was it as far as coffee or alcoholic beverages? Because I'm assuming they're only on wine.
They had grappa, which is basically a hodgepodge of things, right? So, again, the wines. I was a big wine guy, and still am a big wine guy. Phenomenal wines, right?
Was it the best you'd ever had?
The experience makes it the best as well, right? So with the whole globalization of our economy, you can get a lot of the same wines that are there, right? It's hard. You've got to really search for the local things that you can't get here. You know what I mean?
And
yeah.
but the difference is you're not sitting at a cafe
Oh
on
yeah,
the street.
Exactly. It's like, hey, you're here. Here's your reservation time, and you're out in an hour. There, you might be there for several hours with friends, just sitting and talking.
Now, on the meal side, they do meals of like courses, don't they?
Courses, absolutely.
So did you experience that?
And that was my experience. The first time that I went there, they're like, hey, we've got your breakfast. It's a 3-course meal. Your lunch, you're on your own.
Back up.
Yeah.
The breakfast was a 3-course meal.
Breakfast was a 3-course, right?
Wow.
Lunch, you're on your own, but dinner, another 3-course, right? And they enjoyed it and would stand there and want to make sure that you were enjoying your meal. If not, we're going to do something different.
Really?
Right? Oh, absolutely. They enjoy their trade, right?
And they're very proud of it.
And they're very proud of it.
Because they put so much into it.
So it's funny you should say that. The first time I went there, I wanted some cool bottles of wine. And it was all about the label. And the guy, the sommelier that was there, he said, listen, drink the wine, then take the empty bottles home. He's like, I want to see you enjoy this wine, right? I don't want to see you take home, full bottles. Drink the wine, take the bottle home. I'm like, okay, yeah.
And wine is almost like, for Americans, like a soda or
like
a
tea.
Soda,
exactly. Yep.
They drink wine all the time.
All the time. Yep.
And so, how does that work, though? Are people like drunk everywhere?
People aren't drinking to get inebriated. That's the difference. Again, it's not about the quantity; it's about savoring what you're being given, right? And so
That's a whole different mindset.
It's a whole different mindset, right? So you enjoy that glass, and you enjoy the history of it. You walked out in the fields, and then you enjoyed the wine. Like, this taste came from here.
So you got to go out into the
absolutely.
vineyards.
Oh, absolutely. That was Spain as well. It was big. Have you ever tasted a wine grape?
I have not.
It is phenomenal. We
don't get grapes like that.
We don't get grapes like that. Like, I stopped on the road in Spain, and my buddy was like, hey, we can't stop here. I'm like, no. Let's just grab a grape. And I grabbed a bunch, and each grape was phenomenal. It was like drinking wine in that one grape pod, right? Forget the bunch.
You could get the flavors.
Yes. Unlike the stuff that we get here. We get green.
Well, the stuff we get
grapes
here, I would compare to Welch's grape juice.
Exactly. If that. All right. Some of it doesn't really even have the taste of a grape. But there, I was amazed. I'm like, the flavor that's in this grape, wow.
Now,
Yeah.
speaking of grapes,
yes,
you will never find this in Italy, I promise you. But in Texas, and maybe here, I don't know, have you ever had a cotton candy grape?
I've heard of them, but
Dude,
I have not.
Tastes just like cotton candy.
And probably the reason I haven't tried it is I'm not a big cotton candy fan.
I'm not either,
Yeah.
but I've had to try it.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that if you gave one of those to somebody in Italy, they would
like,
be insulted.
Yes, insulted. Be like,
that's not a grape.
But the grape, I haven't had that experience since then, and that was in Spain, not in Italy. But I pulled a grape and I went, I am just amazed by the flavor that's in this grape. Like just bottle this up. Don't blend it with other stuff, right? Just give me this grape. The juice is phenomenal.
Wow.
Right? And so we've lost that here.
I don't know if we ever had it.
I think we
did. Do you think we did?
I think we did many years ago. And again, you go to certain cities and they enjoy things and prepare food and want you to really enjoy. You go to New Orleans. We talked about that earlier. Like New Orleans, you can taste the love and the preparation and the work that went into things. Go to New York and you go to different neighborhoods. You want Italian food, go here, and it's phenomenal. You want Indian food, go here, and people really enjoy providing that. They're preparing it, providing it, and wanting to see you enjoy it. The love is, and again, that's in New York. You see it in
which they still have.
Have cultural pockets,
right?
Yes.
And so I mean, in Texas, the closest thing that I
Beef.
can come to that is really not even beef.
Okay.
I mean, and we are like one of the beef capitals of the
Of
world.
course. Yeah.
But what we have that you can find that is a special cultural addition
Yep.
is Mexican food.
Oh, yes.
Like, I don't want to
Yes.
eat Mexican food here.
Yeah.
No offense
Oh,
to
no,
you.
no, yeah,
no
yeah,
offense.
no.
And
Well, I don't know. This is your first time really hanging out in Atlanta.
First time
we have
ever.
We have areas within Atlanta where if you want to go get some good Japanese food, it's here. You want good Korean, it's here. You want good Mexican,
I
it's
did
here.
read
And it's
that you have a
authentic.
Chinatown.
Yes, and
Have
it's
you been?
authentic. I have not. Chinatown, I have not.
How
And
can
it's-
you not
and
go
it's-
to Chinatown?
And it's authentic.
I
right?
heard that.
Yes.
I don't know where it is.
Atlanta
I
has
don't-
it.
I don't know where we are now.
Yeah.
Like,
you're north of Atlanta.
I'm like,
So where
there's
you are,
trees everywhere.
so Atlanta is in Fulton County, and you are as far north in Fulton County that you can get.
Okay, so I'm on the tip.
You're on the tip, the northern tip. You literally 1 block away from here, and you're out of the county that Atlanta is in. So you are still in Fulton County,
How far do you live from here? Like driving?
10, 15 minutes max.
Okay, so I'm staying in Marietta.
Oh, you're over on the west side of it.
I don't know where I'm at, but
Yeah.
I can tell you it was a long drive to
Yeah.
get here.
Yeah,
And
you're
Gunny,
in a whole different area.
Gunny's like, I promise it's going to be worth the wait. And I'm like, dude, and we didn't come across on the interstate.
Oh, yeah.
We drove the back roads.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, back
And
roads,
I was like, I'm in no hurry because I'm enjoying all the sights.
Yep.
Because when you come from Texas, where I live, where there's no trees,
Right.
it's fall here.
Well,
It's
you also have to
beautiful.
recognize that you are at the beginning of the Appalachian Mountains.
Are you
Oh,
serious?
yeah. You drive 15 minutes,
Oh.
well, maybe 20 minutes north, and you're in the mountains.
Dude, I did not know that.
You're at the beginning of the Appalachian Trail.
If I would have known that, I would have
yeah.
stayed another day.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
I am a huge fan of Appalachian music, and it's kind of a new thing for me. Like, I grew up on rock and roll,
Yep.
and you would have, if you told me 30 years ago that I would be a huge fan of Appalachian music, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. But the amount of talent coming out of those places and the sincerity in the songwriting,
Yep.
never heard lyrics like it. Like, it blows me away. Like, one of my new favorite songs is by Tyler Childers. You ever heard of him?
No, I haven't.
You should check him out.
Okay.
But he does a song called Bottles and Bibles. And
Huh.
it's like, the song is like so heartfelt. It's
Yes.
about a preacher man that his wife left him and he started drinking.
Yep.
And it's like, you know that's true. It happened.
Oh, of course,
He didn't
of
just
course.
make this up.
Well, you're in an area of town, and you're in an area of the United States where you get such a blend of music. You get rap, you get hip hop, you get blues, you get all of that. All that.
I
Comes through
wanted
here.
to go to, have you been to Willie's?
Yeah.
You've been there?
Been to Willie's.
So I looked up like the blues,
Yep.
and they were
You
like,
get
"Oh, you
blues,
got
you
to
get all
hit
that."
up Willie's because
Yep.
that's the blues bar of
Yep.
Atlanta." And unfortunately, I'm not going to get to go this time. But I've already said next time I come, I'm staying longer because y'all have so much. I feel like every time I go somewhere for cigar talk, I
Yeah.
don't get to experience what I want to experience because I'm not
Talking.
working, but you know.
Yeah, understood. Yeah.
And so I'm like,
Nobody told you you're at the bottom of the Appalachian Trail.
oh no.
Oh yeah. So Atlanta has, and I'm a big motorcycle rider and stuff.
Oh,
and that-
really?
Oh yeah. Atlanta.
Yeah, what
has,
kind of bike you ride?
Oh, I race motorcycles for a
Oh,
long time. yeah.
wow.
So I'm a sport bike guy,
Dude,
but
you
I
are
had a
all
motorcycle.
over the place.
I had a motorcycle shop, and so I've ridden everything, right? And so Atlanta has. It was in a magazine. Atlanta has the best roads, the best riding in the United States. And I never really thought about that. It's because we have more days that you can ride a motorcycle. We don't have rain all the time. Like the winter isn't as long. And we have roads, really nice roads through the mountains that people, there was a guy here earlier. He said, hey, I was riding this morning. We'll take off in the morning, drive up into the mountains, see the leaves change and all of that.
It's
And
beautiful.
you've got cutbacks back and forth, and it's some of the best riding in the United States.
And you don't have the humidity here. Not as much as like in St.
Not
Louis
Houston.
or Houston.
Yeah. But it gets bad, but it's not Florida.
Like how
It's
hot
not-
is it in the summer here? Like
it'll
what's the
get hot.
average temperature?
It's in the 90s, but it's not Texas in the hundreds all the time. It's not the same.
We had a record of like 50 days of over 100 this last summer. Dude.
I was in Texas, and it was I can't remember what the record was, but it was something like that. Like it was just
Have you
100
met
days.
a lot of Texans?
I've worked in Texas.
Okay.
outside
So
Dallas. all
here's
time.
the thing. Like Texans are so cocky and they love to tell everybody they're from Texas.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. I'm not that. Because I'm like, how is it that I'm going to brag about a place I can't stand? And it's not that I don't like the
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
the land. I absolutely hate the weather.
Oh.
I mean, do you want to be outside when it's 107?
No, I don't. And it is hot. I will. Hey, growing up in Alabama, I know what heat is. But Texas is hot.
Oh,
and it's because of when I say Texas, the Dallas area. I've been to other places in Texas, but there are no trees to cut down on the sunlight, the direct sunlight,
And the
it's-
wind.
and the wind, and it's hot. So no.
No, when
I'm
you
not-
go outside in Texas and where I live, if you think Dallas doesn't have trees,
Yeah.
when you get out to where I live, it's just desert.
Yeah.
And so the wind's blowing. In fact, where I live in
It's like a
Abilene
heater.
was in the top 5 windiest cities in America.
Oh,
Top
okay.
5. That's not a happy thing to be. And so when it's 100 and up and it's windy, I feel like I am a miniature little something and there's a giant hair dryer
But
just
blowing on you, I tell
burning me
you.
up.
Yes,
So have you been to the Appalachians?
I've been up there.
And you rode your
I've
motorcycle?
Oh, of course.
Oh, dude.
If you haven't been here and you ride, there's nothing like it. You can ride from here all the way up into North Carolina and going. Oh yeah, absolutely.
How
And
long
it's-
does it take to get there to North Carolina? 6 hours?
No.
Less?
No. Oh yeah, you're north. Like so, Charlotte is only 3 hours, 2.5 hours from here. So,
You can't get anywhere in 2.5 hours in Texas.
Well, that's why hey, Atlanta's a hub, and that's why, right? Everything's a direct flight from here. Think about it, like all the flights. I can't imagine living in a city where
How you
you
doing,
always
Matt?
have to take like you're flying into a major hub. From here, everything is a direct flight. How you doing that?
I don't even have a airport that I can fly anywhere directly. Like
Here,
every flight I take goes to Dallas.
pretty
and
much
then
any,
I take the new flight.
pretty much any country. Right? I mean, it's like, hey, you can fly direct from here. Like you go to London or even Asia. You fly to New York from here, and then you cut
Have you
across.
been to Asia?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been.
Where have you not been? Let's narrow it down.
I've been to some cool places.
Have you been to the Middle East?
Like where?
I don't know anywhere. Iran,
No,
Iraq, Kuwait, Dubai.
No, I haven't. Like,
Okay.
Like Asia, I've been to. I have not been to Africa.
Oh, you haven't been to Africa?
Not been to Africa.
Well, I've never been to Africa, but my daughter has.
No.
She loved it there.
Yeah.
In fact, her friend went over there, and she almost married a dude while she was over there.
Have you ever seen a true map? Africa is huge. It's a continent.
Ginormous.
It's huge.
It's not a country.
Right, it's not a country.
continent.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a continent.
And it has a little bit
50
of everything.
53 countries. I mean,
Wow.
53. 53.
Wow.
Right? So where do you start? Right. Yeah.
She
So I've
went-
been all over Europe and Asia. And
I'm trying to
South
remember
America.
where she went. You would know it. It was right out in the middle,
Of
Africa.
why do you think I
So-
know it?
Well, I mean, because it's a very common place.
Yeah.
I
It just gives me a
I
hard
can't
time.
remember the name of it, but she went there, loved it. They actually, while she was doing her mission work, they took a break one day and they actually went out to like what do you call it? The savannah.
Oh yeah.
and was out there. I mean, they saw elephants and
Yep.
lions and all that.
Yep.
And so she just came back with a whole new appreciation. And she stopped off in Saudi Arabia.
I've been there though. Yeah, like I said, I haven't. Yeah.
And, you know, Saudi Arabia is
Dubai,
not
I
the
wanna
place
go
you
to.
want to stop off when you have a suitcase with Bibles in it.
And you're female, right? I
Right.
mean, there are a lot of things you have to consider. Yeah.
And, you know, my daughter at this time was only like 16.
I don't know. I think I'd have a hard time letting my 16-year-old go. You know.
You know what?
it's-
I'm an
Hats
adventure
off
guy.
to you. Hats off to you and her, right?
I'm an
That's-
adventure guy, and so when I was growing up, I always was on my next new adventure.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't leave the country, I've been a lot of places in the United States. I've met so many great people, and that was one of the things that I just loved about just like I told you, I moved to St. Louis.
Yep.
Didn't know a soul,
Right.
but it was one of the most best experiences I've ever had. So whenever she was wanting to go to all these places, my wife was like, "Oh, I don't know," and I was like, "Let her go.
Yeah.
Let her go."
Hats off to you,
experience."
right? Hats off to you, because the sexist in me is just like, you know, if I had a son, would I let him go? I'm like, I might, right? It might be easier for me to say, oh yeah, go ahead, you know. But if you have a daughter, it might be, I don't know, you know.
But
But
my
I
daughter,
understand that that's the bias in me.
and, right, and my daughter has my personality and my drive.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hold her back
Right.
because
Fair enough.
I regret
Not
not
doing
leaving the country.
Yeah.
Like when I graduated high school, a very good friend of mine bought a Harley Davidson, and he was like, "Dude, buy a Harley,
Oh, yeah.
and we're just gonna travel America for like a year or so."
Have you seen the Ewan McGregor? He does the thing where he just gets on a motorcycle and just drives from country. I would love to do that, right?
And you know what? I told him no
Yeah.
because I'm going to go to Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And we know how that turned out. And so I was like, that was one of the biggest regrets of my life because the dude went on a 2-year motorcycle touring the country
Yeah.
without a job.
Yeah.
He did odd jobs in little
course.
towns to get, you don't need a lot of gas when you're on a
Yeah.
motorcycle. And he had a tent.
Yep.
And I was like, man, I missed out on that.
Yeah. You'll find that people in other countries, because you're American, they want to know about you a little bit, and they're supportive of you as well. Oh, you're doing this, and like we embrace that difference. So, oh, you're different. Let me learn more about where you're from, right? And so I find that that's been a constant all over. I went to where was it? Ireland, and I thought being a homogenous society, or so I thought. Man, they wanted to know all about me because I was American.
I
and
love
embraced
Irish
me.
people.
Oh, I would
didn't
go back
know.
in a heartbeat. I would go back in a heartbeat.
Have you done the DNA testing thing?
No, I have. That's a whole data thing. I would never do that.
So
But
I did it,
yeah,
and thankfully, I didn't have any kids I didn't know about. That was the big But anyway, I didn't.
twiddling fingers, waiting. Yeah.
But what I found out, I was 81% Irish.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I absolutely loved Ireland.
I
Love it.
watch a YouTube channel where they go over. They're in Ireland, but they take American things
Yeah.
and they let these Irish people experience them, and they
Right.
give their feedback.
Right.
And they've done everything from bourbon, desserts,
Yep.
candy bars, and it's just crazy because they're like, "Oh, that is too
it's
sweet."
Too sweet. Yeah.
Or that is too this, and it
Yeah.
was like when they drink our bourbon, some of them liked some of them,
Yeah.
most of them hated most of it,
Yeah.
and then there was a few where they loved it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would love to go over there because they show like what it's like over there
Yeah.
in the geographical way.
Of course. Oh, that's one of the things that you notice. You're like,
So beautiful.
man, the natural resources really play a role in defining what the taste profiles are, what foods are there. Why is all the food here bland? Okay, here's why.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So you've traveled all over, and I would love to like get your perspective across the board on a lot of places you've been. We don't have time to cover all that, but which place would you say was your most favorite and the place that you would love to go back to visit for an extended period of time?
I think I've been asked that question before, and I always respond with favorite for what? So the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life was New Zealand. Phenomenal. Like the pictures.
What time of year did you go?
It was cold, and I went to I went to both Auckland and the South Island, and I enjoyed the South Island the most. It was chilly, but not cold, and I can't. It's been years, and I can't remember what time of the year it was. But the South Island, and that's where a lot of the Lord of the Rings was filmed, and a lot of that. It is phenomenal,
so it's breathtaking,
just breathtaking. Where you're going through, caverns, and you're seeing waterfalls all around you. Phenomenal. It looks like a movie set. Truly does, right? So loved New Zealand.
Is that where you would go?
Well, again, if you offered me a ticket to go anywhere in the world,
you can go anywhere you
anywhere
want.
in the world.
Where are you going? If you got 2 weeks to go there.
It might be Africa because I've never been.
Ah.
So there are different reasons, right? Italians, very welcoming.
Any places you didn't like? That was not enjoyable as what you had hoped.
No.
Really?
No.
So all of them had something to offer.
Something to offer. Like I had no desire to go to India, but absolutely loved it.
Really?
Absolutely. Very hot, very humid. But the people,
so it's hot and humid.
I
didn't know that. I thought it was dry.
No. Well, it depends, right?
Because it's big.
India has, yes, it's big. India has, a coast, a big coast, right? So they have beaches and all that, but we don't see all that, right? But, where I was, insanely hot, right? And you see people in dress clothes, and I'm like, how are you guys doing this, right? But thoroughly enjoyed India.
You know what I love most about India? I've never been there. I love their clothes for the guys.
Oh, yeah.
Those long.
Oh, you're talking, the traditional.
Dude, that is cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Absolutely.
When I was
in Thailand, same thing. Like you go there.
Now it's humid there.
It's humid, but I don't remember it being humid so much. But suits, like you go there and they're like, hey, let me take your measurements and look through these magazines. Any suit that you want, pick out the fabric, and they're very proud of their fabric.
Make it for you?
They make it for me, right? So
and how expensive was that?
Wasn't
wow,
right? And better than anything I
and
ever
they take
had.
A lot of pride.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
And so, I mean,
every place has had something to offer. I think Germany, I felt most
at home.
What do you mean? No.
No.
I felt most challenged, mainly because
really?
I don't speak any German. Right.
Now you do speak some other languages.
Yeah,
you speak Japanese. What else?
And some French and Spanish, right?
Okay.
And so I could draw from the Romance languages, right? But German, it was very different. Basically, I had to learn on the fly, kind of thing.
Now, are you aware? I don't know. Is there a lot of German communities here in Georgia?
There is one for sure.
Okay.
But it's not something that, for me is prominent. So I don't know where it is, but we have a large Polish environment here. I mean, like community, as well as I would be shocked if there wasn't a large German population here.
In Texas, we have tons of German cultures spread out throughout the whole state.
Yeah.
And one of the big reasons of that is during World War II, we had a lot of people escaping and came here. Yep. And so we have whole towns that, like, what is it that they do? We call them, it's like a biscuit with either meat in it or fruit in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I will tell you, it just dawned on me. Yes, there's a town probably 15 minutes north of here in the mountains called Helen, and it's a German town. And they have all the, it's a cool, when you drive into it, you feel like you're in a German village. And they have all the people selling their wares, like restaurants and all that. but it's called Helen. Yeah, it's a little German town.
And it's
north
not
of
very
here.
far from here.
Not very far from here.
Wow.
How Helen? How far is that? Not
Okay.
even that. Not even that far. Not even 2 hours yet. Yeah.
Okay.
At the most. Yeah. And
See,
so,
I got to
during
come back here
Christmas,
and experience the whole state.
Atlanta has
Well, maybe not the whole state.
Yeah. When people say they're from Atlanta, there's like Atlanta, and then there's Georgia, right? And so, but no, we've got a little bit of everything here. Like Atlanta is really a transient town. Like,
I didn't know that until I got
really?
here. I've met people from New York. I've met people from all over different states, and I was like,
very common.
I thought that like everybody would be from here,
Oh no,
and nobody's from here.
Major industry, if you think about it, large companies, because we have the major airport, and that's a big draw, right? So you have, all kind. Mercedes-Benz is big here.
Yeah,
Like-
because they have their brand
Yeah,
right
yeah.
on the stadium.
Yep. Mercedes-Benz is here, and so you pull people from any and everywhere, are represented here.
So what brought you here?
College, and then from there I went into telecom, and this is a huge technology hub in the South.
Gunny is
Yep.
in the
Yep.
technology sector.
Everything he talked about, I've worked for the same companies. Yeah, we just hadn't had a chance to talk, but it's a large community.
I would
but
have
small.
never thought this was a technology center.
Huge. This whole area where you are right now, basically Atlanta was on the forefront of fiber optics, and so they ran fiber, all the way up here because taxes were a little bit cheaper, and so you have AT&T, Singular at the time, which was their mobile, arm of AT&T.
And you were with MCI
I
WorldCom.
was with WorldCom. So I worked for a provider that a manufacturer that built all the equipment that all these technology companies used. So,
Wow. What'd you say? Oh,
Yeah,
are you warm from the heaters? What time is it? And what is our plan? Okay, cool. No. We're almost wrapping
he's
it
going
up.
to edit all this anyway.
I don't edit nothing. He knows.
I'm good. Thank you,
We
though.
got cigars in the car. Yeah, I don't need anything else. No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for the drinks and the cigars. You're welcome. But no, I love visiting with people about their back history because that's where the value of the cigar community really is for
of
me.
course.
And dude, you have a lot of unique experiences.
There are a lot of other people that have been you'll find there are a lot of Africans that are here, a lot of people from the Caribbean that are here, and just the conversations have been, just them sharing their history. And I've learned a lot about my history in conversing with them and so forth. So you never really know what you're going to get when you come out here and hang out on the patio.
And I love
Yeah.
that. That
Oh,
is
yeah.
a true melting pot. That's
It
one
has
of the,
been.
That's one of the things that maybe we miss, like at my home shop, is the diversity.
What I will share is if you sit here long enough, you'll find commonality, right?
Oh.
So there's it doesn't take long, right? You're like, oh, really? And you met someone that was from your home, from your birth town, right?
Port
Yeah.
Arthur, Texas.
Yeah.
I mean,
Doesn't take long.
small world.
Does not take long, and you're like, oh yeah. I found I was talking to a guy. He's from my home city, and he actually grew up in a neighborhood, a very, very small neighborhood within Montgomery, Alabama, that I own a house, on. I went, this is crazy that you're here and I'm here in the same spot at this time. And through conversation, we learned that we have that in common, right? And so you'll find that a lot here.
And that's what makes it special.
It does.
Like at where I'm at, like we don't have a lot of outsiders
Yeah.
because people aren't moving to Abilene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I understand. Yeah.
People are moving out of Abilene.
Yeah.
And so the diversity that I get where I am is like my co-host of the show is from East St. Louis.
Okay.
Our very good friend is from Baltimore.
Yep.
And then Ed, who's, he was a Vietnam vet.
Okay.
He's from Baltimore, but he's older. And so the diversity that we get, mainly for me, is more age, like the different amount of time. Your experiences have been so different from mine because you were born 30 years before me.
Right.
And so
you'll get that here as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
But
they're welcome too, right?
Oh,
it's
right.
Yeah, you're younger than 40, so we don't want no.
Well,
sit down with us.
Nobody says that to me. They know I'm not 40. But we have a what we call the Saturday faculty meeting, which has nothing to do with faculty.
Of course.
But that's just what we call it. Yeah. And there's I want to say that in the entire group, I am the second youngest.
Right.
The number one is a female, and she's in her 30s. And then you have me in my low 50s, and then everybody else is 57 to 74. And so everybody has different backgrounds. So that's where I get to take in the diversity.
Yes.
And I can tell you this, if you are not taking in the amazing stories, cultures, experiences of a diversified group, you are missing out.
And that's the one thing with cigars. I mean, people go in the humidor, they'll buy one, they'll come out and sit. And again, they're not coming in here buying a cigar and then leaving, right? They're sitting down and you'll strike up a conversation and, 15 minutes in and you're like, oh, wow, we had that in common. Yep. Yeah. And it level sets the conversation, right?
And for me, even if we don't have a lot of experiences in common,
you'll ask a question and learn.
I'm in awe because I'm learning. Yeah. It's and I'm not knocking education at all, because education is very valuable in certain sectors.
And it's fluid. Yeah.
And it also teaches you things that you would never have known. But for me, I get a lot of that education that I didn't get in college from talking with people from different regions, different countries,
and asking questions.
Right. And so that's one of the things I love about doing this show is I get to ask questions just to see where we go.
Yep.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us your story. I know we didn't even touch on a fraction of it, but what you have shared with us has been to me, just oh, dude, I could talk to you and question you for hours because, I grew up in Texas. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Canada. That's it.
That's it? Okay.
Now, and I've been to every state west of the Mississippi, plus Tennessee and now Georgia.
What about Dakotas?
No, I've not been to Dakotas.
Okay. I haven't either.
No one wants to go to the Dakotas. I've met a lot of people from the Dakotas.
Why are there two Dakotas?
And they don't want to be there.
Right.
It's I told you I don't like the northern states. Yeah. Now, I have been to Montana, Wyoming, all of those.
Oh, wow. Okay, I have not made it to those.
When I was a kid, we used to drive up to Canada from Texas every summer. And we were on a 2-week vacation.
That was a long drive.
Oh, man, it was a long drive. This was the 70s when the speed limit was 55.
That was a long drive, yeah.
It was.
That was a long drive.
But you know what? I wouldn't trade those memories for anything.
Of course not. Yeah.
I mean, I got to spend
time. I hope you don't get away from that.
Oh, it's one of those, adventurous things. That's why I'm with my daughter. I'm like, go.
The one thing I will say, here within the U.S., I find that we're losing that, not the camaraderie, but keeping family close kind of thing, right? We're all over the place, right? And we don't get to enjoy family as much as when you go other places and it's like my cousin lives there, my brother lives there. It's communal, right?
Absolutely.
And the family unit, right?
Well, I told you that my cousin is Hispanic.
Yep.
His parents, his sister, and himself, and his wife's parents and 2 brothers all live within a 10-block area.
Right.
Because they have not let go of that.
They have not let go of it. we have, unfortunately.
It is. It's very sad.
But you go other places and they celebrate food, they celebrate, and in celebrating food, it's all about, hey, on Sundays, our family all
Breaking
gets together.
bread.
We all break bread and we get together, right, kind of thing. I find that is more common in other places
Oh, I'm
than
sure.
here, right?
In fact, I would even say that the closest that you're going to get to that is the cigar community.
I agree with you.
In fact,
Yeah.
our little
I never thought about it that way, but absolutely.
faculty meeting that we have,
Yeah.
every so often, we go to the lounge, we smoke a cigar, and then we're off to a restaurant in another town
Right.
to experience that.
Yeah.
And so last week we went to have you ever been to a family style restaurant
Oh,
where
yeah. They have them here.
Okay.
Yeah, they
So
have
we
'em
went to one of those, and
Yeah.
I mean, now, to be fair, I haven't had the Atlanta experience on fried chicken,
Yeah.
but we went to a place in Texas that in Texas, it's like the best fried chicken you can get.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed that I didn't make it to like,
You'll have to let me know when you're coming this way again.
I will.
And we'll map out a good Atlanta
Oh,
experience for you, because
for sure.
it's big. I mean, it's what do you want to experience this time, right? Because you won't get it all in one trip.
Not possible.
Yeah, you won't get it all in.
Next time I come,
Especially if I take you up to the Appalachian Mountains.
oh, yeah,
Apple picking and all of that is huge right about now up in the mountains. So we have a little bit of everything here.
I would have never thought that I would be a huge fan of Appalachian music, but just the lyrics, they sing about what's happened in their communities,
Yep.
and it's like, it's heartfelt.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm a fan, right? I'm a fan of folk music as well. Just music in general, good music in general.
I'm going to tell you somebody you got to check out.
What's that?
Billy Strings.
I've not heard that name.
Okay, so he's the one who got me into the whole Appalachian music scene.
Okay.
They are more bluegrass,
Yep.
and I would have never thought I liked bluegrass.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that Billy Strings is the best guitarist in the world that is alive.
So I think about Notting Hillbillies with Mark Knopfler and a couple of those guys they got together. And so I enjoy their music. And I don't know if you call that Appalachian or not, but like the closest for me, I think of Jewel. And she was doing, when Jewel did are you familiar with Jewel?
Yeah, I know Jewel.
And so Jewel did her, at least her first album, right? When she did her yodeling and so forth. I'm like, I really enjoyed that.
You know how you know she was like lights out good?
Yeah.
She did a song with Merle Haggard.
Okay.
The
I know Merle.
legend.
I know Merle. Yeah.
You know, he died back 3 years ago.
Okay.
And, you know, that was my very first concert.
Okay.
I was 9 months old, and my parents took me with them
Yeah.
to the Huntsville State Prison rodeo.
Okay.
That's how the 70s
Okay,
was.
yeah.
The 70s.
It's funny because I have a memory of going to a what was the band? It was a rap group when rap was early, right?
So way
And I
back
was
in the 90s.
way back. No,
or the
70s.
80s. Oh, whoa,
70s.
whoa.
Absolutely.
You're going way back.
I'm going way back. I told you. I'm
Now,
old.
who is this? Tell me who it is.
I think it was the Sugar Hill Gang at the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, I think is who it was, right? And I remember, vividly sitting on my dad's shoulders, right? Yeah, and I'm like, my parents were cool. I'm like, oh, they actually took me to a concert. I'm like, pretty good. Okay. I think it was the Sugar Hill Gang.
My parents used to take me to the drive-in movie.
Yeah.
Me and my mother would be in the front seat of the car. Because my parents were poor and cheap, my dad would be in the trunk. Because they didn't want to pay for an
That's
extra
hilarious.
person.
Little known fact, Atlanta had one of the last, I don't think they still have it, drive-ins in the U.S. here. And so I've gone several times here in Atlanta to a drive-in.
Now, we have a drive-in in Abilene.
Oh, do you? Okay.
You know, they're kind of making a comeback
Are they?
in certain
Okay.
areas.
Yeah.
And so, but I remember going to see like Good Guys Wear Black with, what was that karate guy?
Bruce Lee?
No, not the white guy. Played
Oh.
Texas Walker Ranger.
Oh, you're talking Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris. Yeah.
I mean, they took me to all those movies back in the day.
Yeah.
Where today, if you took a kid to see an R-rated movie, you'd probably get CPS called on you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
But hey, man, I'm gonna wrap it up.
I've enjoyed it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so much
It's
for
been
having
a
me.
pleasure,
Yeah,
brother.
absolutely. Yeah.
And hey, guys,
This has been a great experience.
this is not a regular show. This is a bonus show, so we didn't really jump into the whole sponsorship. We didn't dive into the McAuliffe Minute because this is a bonus show. So that being said, I'm still going to place all the links in the show notes for our sponsors, and you guys know they take care of us, and we would appreciate it if you would check them out. And if you support them, it helps support us. So until next time,
Smoking.
Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and think about sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet